Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ali Gohar. We've got a feast of cricket tonight. We'll begin with Pakistan's upcoming tour of New Zealand, where another Pakistani player has tested positive for COVID-19, which means that their isolation will continue. There'll be another round of tests. This will be the fourth round of tests. So this is a little bit worrying, a little bit upsetting, but we've been told so far that this won't affect the tour, and it'll go on as per the schedule, which will start on the 18th of December. So we'll still stick to the original schedule. That's not going to change. And now more on Pakistani cricket. This time the women have been playing quite a bit of cricket. The PCB challengers who won the T20 championship. The challengers beat the Dynamites by 7 runs in the final, and their tournament has been constantly promoted by PCB's Instagram account. We're seeing the best shots and the best deliveries, so that's always good to see. And the PCB delivered 148 matches in 2020 and the 2021 season, domestic season, despite COVID-19. So well done to the Pakistan Cricket Board. Now for some international cricket. We saw a really fun match last night, South Africa and England. And this time South Africa put up quite a score, 192. And I don't care who you are, it's always difficult. No matter how good your batting side is, chasing 190 is never easy. But I tell you what, England made it look ridiculously easy, especially Dawid Malan. He got going from the word go. He was dominant, smashed the South African bowlers all over the park. And so did Jos Buttler. Buttler was also absolutely fantastic. But to be fair, the South African bowlers did help them out a little bit. Their inexperience really came through, we could tell. And they certainly have a lot of work to do to the South Africans going forward. So England take the series 3-0. Now a 50-over contest. Australia already had the series, already won the series 2-0. So India were playing for pride, and they ended up doing very well in the third and final game in Canberra. India made just over 300 runs thanks to a 150-run partnership between Hardik Pandya, who made 90, and Jadeja made 66. When the Indians came out to bowl, they put pressure on the Australians with their new look bowling attack. They had a left armour in, and they also had Thakur and the Chinaman bowler, Kuldeep Yadav, and that put the brakes on the Australians. Glenn Maxwell almost took it away from them, but in the end, Jasprit Bumrah got the better of Glenn Maxwell, and in the end, India won by 13 runs, which means the series has ended in 2-1 to the Australians. But first, we're going to discuss Pakistan's upcoming tour to New Zealand with my guests. My guest in the studio is Mr. Ali Abbas, cricket analyst. Ali, Assalamu alaikum. Great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And on Skype, we've been joined by Leena Moin Aziz, senior cricket analyst. Leena, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Ali. How are you? Hope all good with you guys in Pakistan.
Goodish. We're all right. We're hanging in there.
That's good enough. Goodish is good enough.
At this point, goodish is good enough. I agree. Ali Abbas and other players tested positive. A little bit disappointing, but we've been assured so far, we've been told that the tour won't be affected and it'll carry on, as the way it was expected to. So that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, and you can give a bit of margin to the New Zealand Cricket Board and their health ministry, if they're really serious about what's happening in the Pakistani camp in terms of COVID tests. I mean, they are a country who were able to battle this pandemic in a manner which was far better than any other country out there. So, we are at a stage where we have seen so many cases around us, so many people recovering, that we have sort of realized it is possible to live with the virus, even though it's really difficult. When it comes to the Kiwis, they haven't exactly experienced it. So they're still at the primary stage in which they're not exactly sure what to expect. Then again, I understand, I was a little bit disappointed by a few of the statements that were thrown at the team of we'll send them back or we won't be having a tour. I mean, you should be a little bit more respectful to your guests. But then when I saw the statement of Wasim Khan, I was able to realize that then again, when you have to make a proper cricketing relation with the team who might tour you in the future as well, regardless of the security concerns, you will have to take these factors into concerned. So yeah, still looking forward to the tour, and I hope that the next round of tests is a lot more better, and we see all of the players who have tested positive healthy and testing negative, and looking forward to some good cricket ahead.
Lena, to be honest, I don't blame the Kiwis for being overly cautious about this situation. I don't blame them for freaking out a little bit because they've handled the coronavirus pandemic quite well. I mean, the world is looking to them as an example. Then, the Pakistanis show up and 8 players test positive. So they're being very careful. There's a 4th round of tests that's going to take place. So I think, whatever was said and the fact that some of the Pakistani cricketers did breach the bubble, I don't blame them for being as strict as they're being. I've got to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, Ali, I'll have to agree with you. And we've got to deal with these two situations in compartments. For instance, the players who are, currently have COVID. I have my full sympathy with them because that's not a controllable situation. They have it. They have COVID because it is a pandemic which the whole world is dealing with, and they cannot help it. They cannot do anything better or worse to control it. So they have COVID, and I wish them well. Second is the more important thing, where I think the New Zealand Cricket Board has been really kind to us. They could have been more strict or more they could have reacted even more adversely. Are the boys who violated the SOPs. I mean, you're not allowed to mingle. You're not allowed to share plates. You're not allowed to take off your mask. You're not allowed to do a number of things. And once you spend these a few days in New Zealand, then you're allowed to freely move around. But they only had to be careful those days. So I'm particularly not happy with the boys who violated the SOPs and the directives of the New Zealand government. Those are the boys I'm not happy with, and I'm not particularly happy with the management, who probably didn't, send the message across properly. The other day also we discussed, and most of these boys are not very well educated. Their backgrounds are not. They don't come from very educated backgrounds. Some of them don't understand, these the directives properly. They haven't, their families, or they haven't traveled abroad to know or understand the foreign rules. So I feel the fault lies with both the management a little bit, and more with the boys, who should have behaved themselves in those circumstances. I mean, they should have done better. And in the end, it comes down to the name of your country. You cannot tarnish the name of your country by violating the SOPs, or just acting like young 16-year-old boys. These are ambassadors for Pakistan, and they should have acted better, I feel.
Right. Well, Ehsan Mani has already said that the tour will happen. This won't affect the tour. So we'll go according to the original schedule. So that's good news. Let's talk a little bit about what Pakistan are up against. Now, we've seen the New Zealanders getting the better of the West Indies. The West Indies have a fantastic T20 team, but we'd all like to think that Pakistan have a better team than the West Indies. Pakistan's bowling attack is considerably better. The last time the Pakistanis played the New Zealanders in New Zealand, they beat them in a T20 series. They'll be hoping that they can do the same again.
Exactly, and I think obviously whatever has happened in the biosecure bubble will have an adverse effect on the Pakistani players mentally as well. It's not the ideal situation by which they would be walking onto the ground. And New Zealand at home are a totally different opposition. They're a totally different animal out there with the players, especially. I mean, Phillips is someone who's just come onto the screen. We all know about Ross Taylor and how he does eye a spot in the 2023 World Cup. But with someone like Phillips knocking on the door and hitting the opposition in all parts of the ground, that is something which would be really encouraging for the New Zealand team. And Pakistan, then again, we have not really had the best of time in New Zealand in recent years. Even after we won the Champions Trophy, we went over there and we got a serious humbling. We thought we were the best in the world, but apparently we were not in that series. So I do expect it to be really difficult, and personally, I think New Zealand are going to be having the upper edge in that series. They are a much more compact side who don't exactly have these things on their mind as the Pakistani team would be having, with the PCB being involved, the government being involved. So it might take time for them to come out of that. I do expect Pakistan to do a lot better in the Test series, but I personally expect a hammering in the T20 series from what I see at the moment.
I think they'll be in trouble in the Test series as well. They haven't done too well in New Zealand in Test match cricket. Babar Azam will be under a lot of pressure, Leena, as will Misbah ul Haq. They've been criticized, Misbah especially has been criticized for his overly conservative approach by having guys like Iftikhar Ahmed in the middle order and a couple of other players. When, you know, now, I mean, when you look at teams like New Zealand and England, fearless modern cricket is required, where you have to go from the off, really. So the Pakistanis will really be tested and under severe pressure.
Absolutely. I mean, like you were saying, not only will the New Zealand team be a threat in the T20s, they'll be a severe threat in the Test matches. Also, look at the attack they've got. They've got Saudi, they've got Bolt, they've got Ferguson. I mean, so many, top class fast bowlers and who know their own home conditions. So they'll be a handful on the New Zealand tracks. Also, they've got Santner, who's a spinner, who's done well for his country for a lot of years. And look at the batting. I mean, T20s, they've got all these new players like Selfett and Conway and Phillips, in addition to Williamson and Guptill and Ross Taylor. So look at the batting ammunition also they got. They're a very balanced team. I mean, with these youngsters that I just named, three of them having done so well against the West Indies, they'll be quite they'll be buoyant by their performances. And then when come the Test matches, they're a seasoned side. They have great. One of the great batsmen in the world in Williamson. Then have the experience. They have the experience of Ross Taylor and the bowlers I named: Ferguson, Saudi, and Bolt. 150 Ks Ferguson. So it won't be easy, and they do have a good spinner in Santner. So both the Test matches and T20s, they'll be a very difficult side to beat, especially their own. Neck of the woods, and also, last time not their own, just their own neck of the woods, but also back in the UAE they defeated Pakistan, a series which Pakistan should have won, but then Williamson, through his captaincy, hangs back right till the end, waits for the mistakes to happen. He trusts the Pakistani team to make mistakes or panic, and it does happen. So he's a very calculating captain, shrewd captain. His opposite number, Babar Azam, is just very young into captaincy. He hasn't yet captained a Test side, very new at T20 level, and that is where Misbah's role comes into the scenario, into play. And how Misbah has got to react, like you said, modern day cricket. He's got to keep in mind how modern day cricket is played. He's got not to be afraid to try youngsters like Abdullah Shafiq, like Heather, down the order, maybe Kushdil Shah. He hasn't got to be afraid. Usually what we've seen with Misbah, that he's generally conservative, hangs back a little bit, doesn't try the youngsters as much. But I think he's got to change all that a little bit. And the other thing I'm looking forward for him to change is he's got to let the captain grow into his own person, into someone
right.
who
So
can
this
make
gives
his own
us an
decision.
opportunity now to move on to what Wasim Khan said. He said that Babar Azam will get a long-term stint. We've told him that, and let's hope that happens, because a new captain, it takes a little bit of time for an individual to grow into that role, and one hopes that it won't hinder his performance. I mean, that's what everybody's worried about. That will it hinder Babar Azam's batting? Let's hope not.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see a reassurance from the PCB, especially to Babar Azam as a captain, when he may be getting dragged into stuff on the media as well, which is really irrelevant to cricket at the moment. So I'm really happy that the PCB came forward. But then again, I think Babar Azam, he has to seize the opportunity, because as Leena mentioned, he has a lot to prove. And then, sometimes there's a fairy tale written in the stars for players like him. This could be the tour that redefines Babar Azam. So yes, he has the assurance from the PCB. I'm sure he has the assurance from Misbah Haq as well. But then this time he has to let his bat do the talking. I still remember he had a really good innings of 96, 97 when we toured New Zealand last time around for the Test series. It was obviously we were hammered in the Test series as well. I hope that pattern does not repeat. But he has to build on those performances. You will always be judged as a great player, as a great captain, by your performances and your leadership abroad. How you handle tough conditions and how you get your boys, your team around you fighting in those conditions. So the stage is set for Babar Azam. He has to go out there and grab it. He has the support and he has the talent. So looking forward to it.
See, captaining all three formats, Lina, will be quite a challenge for the young man. I'm not sure how much captaincy experience he has. He doesn't even captain the Karachi Kings. Imad Wasim is the skipper. So it'll be tough. So because we know it'll be tough, I think it's important that we all give him a little bit of leeway and give him time to grow into this role, because he will make mistakes. He will make a few blunders. It may affect his performance with the bat a little bit, but he needs to be given space, like you would do with your teenage son or daughter. They will make mistakes, they will make bad decisions, but you need to give them the space to grow and learn from their mistakes. It's sort of like that.
I hope you weren't talking about a Pakistani parent, because they don't. If the analogy is about the Pakistani parents, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much leeway or space we give to our children. We do try, but we still got a long way to go.
I'll be one of those parents. Even as I'm a millennial. When I have kids, I'll be very, very strict. I'll be super paranoid. But anyway, enough about me.
Yeah,
go ahead.
so that is exactly what I was saying. But anyways, with Babar Azam, I'm not someone who does favor the one man getting all the captaincy for all three formats. I would rather have two separate captains for the three formats, one for the Test and one for the white ball format. But now, I mean, we can't do anything about it. I mean, we got to just praise the PCB for telling him that he's a captain for the long term and giving him that kind of assurance. But we've seen in the past, even with assurances, if you lose two or three big series, the assurances really don't matter. So it comes down to the captain and how he performs personally with the bat or ball, whichever whichever side he does play for, whether he's a batsman or a bowler or an all-rounder. So he's got to do his skills really well. He's got to show the world that he's going well with his skills. With the bat in this case with Babar Azam, how well he bats, how well he responds to those tricky pitches. Down under area New Zealand, and also there will be pressure, losing pressure, the public pressure, the off the field pressures are there also. Mind you, those pressures do play on your mind. They might not be talked too much about, but those pressures are there and they need to be dealt with. But the thing is that it is going to be a difficult terrain for Babar Azam. I mean, I hope he does bat really well, and I hope we get at least one Test match win, but wouldn't be easy. So he's got to be helped by the senior players, and he's got to be helped by the management, but they have to draw a line where that help has to end, where they let him, where they want him to be, they want him to become his own man, his own person, take his own decisions, maybe have a little bit of a tiff with the management over a selection. I thought that he pushed Usman Qadir, which was a good thing for the future if he pushed him against the wishes of some of the other players, of players or management. But it's time that he becomes his own person. He doesn't have much of a adjustment period. I mean, he's straight away into Test match cricket captaincy. So it's going to be a difficult tour for him, and you've got to say we've got to give them space and give them some leeway. But whether as Pakistanis we will be able to or not, it's some other $1 million question, you can say.
Right, we've got a lot to cover. Lina, let's just talk about women's cricket right now. And I know it's a bit of a cliche to ask a woman about women's cricket, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think some important developments are happening. I think the PCB is now very focused on developing women's cricket. It's good to see that this T20 tournament was given the attention that it deserved. It's being covered heavily on the PCB's Instagram page, where they have a number of followers. We've been seeing the best shots and the best deliveries and the best and the best catches. So I think this is a step in the right direction, but this needs to continue, right? The momentum needs to continue. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, I agree with you, Ali. The PCB's done well, tremendously well in this department. I mean, the central contract for women, their tournaments coming up, giving them the importance, the being covered on social media, the YouTube channels, etc. These are all steps in the right direction, and I need to. I know I'm critical about the PCB, but that's only, in my opinion, when they deserve uh, to be dealt with or something. If I need to send a message, I always send it across without being scared. But in this case, they need to be congratulated. They kudos to PCB, Wasim Khan and Ihsan Mani for giving importance to the women's cricket and cricketers and giving them more money, giving them more coverage, etc. But like you said, that needs to continue in the future and needs to go one step ahead every time. It cannot stay stagnant. So each time they got to evolve and think about new ways how to take women's cricket in tandem with the men's cricket. So that's important. Yeah.
Now we're seeing lots of female commentators. I mean, this really happened over about a few years ago, but now it's good to see Pakistani female commentators coming to the fore. And it's not as if, I understand that women do need help, but they're also, at least the international ones that I've been seeing, they're really, really good. I mean, Isa Gua, especially for me, she's quality.
Yeah.
She's quality. And I'm glad that they're promoting someone like Aruj Mumtaz, and a couple of others, because you don't want to, I mean, growing up, I had to see, and some of them are still around, these inarticulate, insecure, outdated fossils who just never want to leave, right? So you have to, you have to encourage new talent, boys and girls, but especially girls, because they need a little more help. Let's face it.
And like before I get to your question, I'm just going to add to what Leena mentioned, that every time I saw our women's team play, I always felt that they were outperforming on the basis of the resources that were provided to them. There was minimum effort when it came to women's cricket, and they really did shine at a lot of big occasions. In the World Cup, may it be defeating India, we were getting hammered by India in all of the World Cups, and it was the women's team that won convincingly. I remember it was the T20 World Cup in 2015. So yes, 100% women's team has always outperformed when it comes to the resources that we have provided to them, and with the PCB's initiatives, I really do see things improving. And when it comes to commentary, yes, the more diverse we get in that domain, the better it is going to be for our cricket. And it will be good to have role models, women role models, and not only just when it comes to the cricketing sphere, but also in commentary, in analysis, pundits, stuff like that is not only going to add more value to the product, it is also going to get more women into sport, and that is exactly what we need.
I mean, it's just about being in step with the times.
Exactly.
Right, just being current. I mean, it's so much fun watching Australian cricket and listening to their commentary, because there's so much banter, and with that banter, there's good quality analysis. So it makes for very good viewing. Let's move on now to India and not India, beg your pardon, South Africa and England. Now this time South Africa batted, put up a good score, 190, and as I said in my introduction, Leena, I don't care how good you are, 190 on any wicket is always difficult to chase, but England just made it look so ridiculously easy, especially Dawid Malan, because he got going from the off. He just got stuck into the South African bowlers. Yes, the fielders and the bowlers did help Buttler and Malan, but it was a powerful, dynamic performance by England.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But before I comment on the South Africa English series, just a little word on the women commentators. Kudos to them. They're doing a wonderful job. Some of the Pakistani commentators, and Isha Gua, of course, my favorite as well. I mean, absolutely brilliant. But one thing for the PCB, if they want women to commentate, they must tell them that they need to do just one job at a time. They can't be a selector, they can't be a committee member and commentating. Back in the day, Ramiz Raja gave up his, his PCB job to be a commentator. So it is a job you got to respect as a person and then carry on with it. Just it's a singular job. You can't do 10 other jobs with it. But now moving on to the South Africa and England series, absolutely excellent batting by Faf yesterday and Van Dusen to get the score up to 190. But my point is that once you lost the series, the pressure is off. The time to play is when the series is still, it's open. It's anyone can win the series. Once the series is won by one team and the other team comes to the party, it's not so much. It's not so special for me. But nevertheless, the batting was superb. Faf also batted really nicely, and Venduson, his hitting was very special. But the English team these days, it is so super strong. They bat so deep. Players like Morgan, Butler, Roy,
I mean, they bat till number
Milan.
11, Lina. Adil Rashid, who has
Yeah,
what, 10 or 12 first class hundreds, he's the number 11.
absolutely, and David Milan, who's now the number one batsman in T20. I mean, Bairstow, you name it, and there's so many sitting outside. Sam Curran is sitting outside. Alex Hales is not playing. So many other good players are not playing, and they've got a very special team, and they've got two very good spinners. In Muin Ali and Adil Rashid, they've got some very special spinners. So if you talk about the coming World Cup in India, I feel they're very well prepared because they've got two world-class spinners. They've got a batting side which bats so deep. They've got bowlers like Jordan and Archer and the two current brothers, and there's Wokes who's not playing. There's Root who's not playing. So look at the depth. I think they're real contenders for the coming World Cup, and they've done really well this series. And if you want to talk a little about, let's not be lopsided, and let's not just talk about England. You want to talk about the South African team. I think they need a little bit of depth in their batting. The captaincy needs to improve a tad with the field placing. And there was lots of comments yesterday about the Cox getting lost once the
He
South
also
African
missed an
bowlers are
opportunity to
being
run
hit.
out Milan, so that didn't do him
Yeah,
any
he's
good.
out of ideas once he's under the cosh, under the pump. So those little things have to improve. And like Pakistan, South Africa has also got to induct some new talent and not be scared of doing that.
Everything changed for England after the 2015 World Cup when they were knocked out by
Yeah.
Bangladesh. I know we keep going back to that, but it's important because that's what changed English white ball cricket.
Yeah.
They got a group of players, and those players that were in the team, both the bowlers and the batsmen, were told to just go out there and be fearless and express themselves,
Yeah.
and not to worry about the consequences, free consequence cricket. And when you get good players and you allow them to play fearlessly and to express themselves, more often than not, they're going to do very, very well, and that's what we've seen.
Yeah, and also everything changed for David Milan when he was unearthed by Peshawar Zalmi because I never
We
heard
have
of
to
him.
get Pakistan somehow into
somehow we
this.
have to
No,
get
they
it.
Pakistan
Exactly, and it was the effort of Peshawar Zalmi, and when I saw David Milan for the first time, I could not believe he was a T20 player. And for me to foresee he would ever become the number one player in T20s, I never thought it was going to happen. But credit to him as well.
I never thought
Obviously,
he
it was
played Test cricket, but he was in the middle order.
Exactly,
in the
he's
Ashes.
everywhere at the moment. So yeah, and
Must be a really nice guy.
Yeah,
Must
yeah.
get along with everybody.
Everybody, they provide the platform for him to perform. And other than that, I don't see England really performing in India. I think the tracks are going to turn a little bit, and they like a lot of pace on the ball when it comes onto the bat, and I don't see that happening. So the approach of just going out there and slogging every ball for 6 or 4, that might fire back a little bit in India. Other than that, it's a fantastic team. You cannot deny the fact that they have players for every single situation. But then again, the approach, it's good in South Africa, it'll be good in England, but in
look,
India,
considering what
yeah.
South Africa have been going through, I mean,
Exactly.
with their cricket board, a few gun players retiring,
Yeah.
such inexperience in the batting and bowling department. Yes, I know they've got a bowler who bowls at over 150 over 150 clicks, but the experience isn't there. Cricketing now, the cricketing nous isn't there, and that'll take a little bit of time. And Quinton de Kock, of course, has a lot of work to do.
And then again, when you
As a
have
captain.
a nation that cannot put the best 11 players on the field because of reasons that are not cricketing related, you really cannot expect them to perform at their best in every single game. I mean, may it be Quinton de Kock, may it be Faf du Plessis, may it be Graham Smith in this situation. The issues are much more deeper than just what we see on the field, and it's really sad to see.
It is deeper, and I think since the Black Lives Movement
Exactly.
has come to the fore, especially in cricket, there has been a little bit of, I don't know, I mean, I'm not going to use the word confusion. Confusion is the wrong word, but everybody has different opinions. And I think because South Africa has been marred by racism and apartheid, I think it's right now is just not a good time for South Africa, and let's hope they get through it because they add so much to
They do. They're a really important cricketing nation.
Yeah, of course. Let's move on to 50-over contest that we saw, India and Australia. Australia had already won the series 2-0. But you know what I like about this Indian team? I think what 15, 20 years ago, if India were 2-0 down, we would have seen them losing the third game quite comfortably. But this is a different Indian team, one that has a lot of pride. They want to win. And they want to win desperately. And we saw that tonight. Pandya and Jadeja put up a stunning partnership, making a 150 run partnership, and then in the last 7 overs making 93 runs. I mean, that was incredible from the young all-rounders.
Absolutely, you know, these bats these days and the talent these guys have got, and how well they hit down the line, and you know, both sides of the square. I mean, just tremendous batting by these two, Pandya and Jadeja. And earlier on, it was Kohli who built his innings. It was a workman-like innings today, Ali, because he built his innings on ones and twos, and then he played some big shots. But it was his hard work, Kohli's, you know, how fit he is, how he took those singles and doubles, and then whenever he got a chance, he played the big shots also. And later on, Jadeja and Pandya, who both so talented and hit the long ball so well. I mean, they capitalized on a good innings by their captain, and they got a score in excess of 300. Now, you know, the captaincy also was better today. The Indian captaincy, they made 3 inspired changes, like Natarajan got in, Thakur got in, and Yadav got in, and all of these bowlers performed really well, got wickets, controlled the flow of runs at the right moments. So these, especially Natarajan, or even though he went for a few runs, but he got crucial wickets. He's an excellent bowler. He can bowl that Yorker. He's got good pace. He has good change of pace, back of the hand. So he's got everything going for him. So a good change generally by Kohli and the management. They came today. They came to the ground with a better side, a well-equipped side to beat the Australians. Australians also made a few mistakes today. I mean, Labuschagne, why would he open? I mean, I don't know why. Just because he would say, oh, I want to open, he would be sent to open. No, I think he was doing really well in the middle order. He should have not been allowed to open. I know Warner was injured. I know that. But, you know, maybe Smith could have gone and opened, and he could have done a better job. And then, of course, we saw a very special innings from Maxwell. The reason Maxwell is not one of the greats for me, even though today's innings was fantastic, some 360-degree hitting, the reason he's still not one of the great players for me is that he cannot finish a match for Australia. He cannot win a match single-handedly, even though he played really well today. And it was a treat to watch him. All in all, a really good match. Both sides played some good cricket and a great match to watch, but we saw some mistakes for Australia, and we saw that India cashed on. Of course, and I agree with you that today's Indian team is not an Indian team of, say, 15, 20 years ago. They do have the ability to bounce back and play well under pressure.
I think everything changed with this Indian team in that, for me at least, I mean, there are other people who watch a lot more cricket, but there was a final test match in South Africa in Cape Town. They had already lost the series, I believe, and an Indian team, one of the 90s, probably just would have collapsed, especially on a dangerous wicket like that. I mean, they had to go off the field, if you remember, on the 4th day, I think, the 3rd or the 4th day, because the umpires felt the wicket was too dangerous. Yeah. But this Indian team wanted to play. They wanted to play, and they wanted to win. Yeah. And they did. And I think that test match was a turning point. Yeah. They've got this never say die attitude. Yes, they made a number of mistakes in this series, but I'm glad to see that they're playing with pride, and they're willing to take risks.
Yeah, it's nice to see the spirit of Saurav Ganguly live on through Virat Kohli for once. I really liked his attitude from day one. I wasn't really impressed by the attitude the Australians had. It wasn't like they were actually here to play a series against Australia. It was like the Indians had come to play the Big Bash League, how they were being welcomed by every single player. I think every conversation just revolved around how great Virat Kohli is or how amazing the Indian cricket team is. And another person who you have to credit for this victory is Sanjay Manjrekar, because apparently every time he has a go at an Indian player, he performs like he called Ravindra Jadeja a bits and pieces player in the 2019 World Cup. And then we all know what happened in the next game. He had a go at Pandya and Jadeja, saying that they won't be even a part of my team. And they had a reason to perform in today's game. So I think the Sanjay
Manjrekar's been getting
the
it wrong
cursed
for about
lucky
a year.
charm is something which might help them in the future as well. And yeah, I did like the fighting spirit of the Indian team today, but I think the issues, once again, that the issues that they have when it comes to maybe Rohit Sharma not being a part of the team, I think that is going to impact the performances as well. They did win the match today, even though at one stage it looked like Australia are going to take it away. But I think India are in a bit of trouble. They can always get out of it because of the immense number of resources that they have in the batting sphere. But
Pandya and Jadeja were sensible. I think they batted very sensibly. They weren't reckless. And I think it also helped that Australia didn't have Pat Cummins. Sean Abbott is still inexperienced at this level, and that's why Jadeja managed to get stuck into him. They didn't bowl well in the final 7 overs. Josh Hazlewood got it right from time to time, but he wasn't helped at the other end. So I think that allowed Pandya and Jadeja to cut loose.
And not having David Warner as well, so that was always it played into India's hand, at most stages of this game.
And it was smart to bring in Kuldeep Yadav. Yes, he only got 1 wicket, but I think he should have played. He should have played the first and the second game. I'm not sure why they didn't play him earlier. Lena, just on your point on Glenn Maxwell, because it was very interesting. I was thinking the same thing, because this man is ridiculously talented. His talent is unacceptable. I mean, that reverse sweep 6 he hit, I've never seen anything like it. If I was the umpire, I would have actually gone up to Maxwell and say, get back to the pavilion. That's unacceptable. Niklo yahan se. Go. Just get lost. It's not right. But again, this match awareness, his match awareness, not being able to finish games for Australia consistently, that's what's lacking. So while nobody wants to diminish his flair, nobody wants to sort of hinder or hamper his flamboyance, but I still think he needs a little bit of Michael Bevan in him. Once he gets it down to a run of a ball, then he needs to go into Michael Bevan mode and look to finish the game for the Aussies.
Absolutely. I mean, Ali, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, just today I was thinking that, I think today he's going to finish the match because he comes down the order. It is his job, like Bevan's job used to be to finish matches. And more often than not, Bevan used to finish matches. And today I was thinking today is the day, Maxwell's going to finish a match for Australia. And that would have been so good for people like us who are cricket fans, not just Pakistan cricket fans, but cricket fans all over. And, good players, give us so much happiness and such a fillip for us, a buoyant moment for us. And that shot you're talking about, that was such a fantastic shot. It was 100 meters, 6, and, played with such, utmost ease. So, I mean, but you're absolutely right when you say that match awareness is a very important thing for a number 5, number 6 player.
He could have played Bumrah off. Bumrah only had 2 overs.
Absolutely.
He didn't need to play that shot. I know it was a good ball, but he could have defended it, I think.
Yeah, but that time they just needed 6 runs in over, just singles. It could have been done in singles. No need to play such a shot which had so much risk attached to it. He could have just played risk-free 1s and 2s and gotten the runs easily. And especially when the day they didn't have Cummins or Stark in the batting lineup to hit 6s and probably take Australia over the line. So he had more responsibility on him because Zampa, of course, and Hazlewood are not the same quality batsmen that perhaps Cummins and Stark are. Both of them are good enough to were good enough to get Australia over the line, but they weren't in the team today. So there was just 10% more responsibility on Maxwell. But I think maybe if we can get 1 or 2 more innings with the tail like this and finish 1 or 2 matches towards the latter half. This is the latter half of Maxwell's career. Maybe he can finish a few matches and play Like by the time he ends his career, if he plays 8 or 10 match-winning, memorable innings, he will graduate from being very good to being a great player.
No, I mean, it was just wonderful to watch Glenn Maxwell in that innings. Yes, it would have been nice if he could have finished it off, but even the way the commentators added to it, the way they added to it when they were asking, Warney, where would you bowl to Maxwell? And Warren was like, well, I'd go a little bit wide of off stump, but he even has a shot for wide of off stump. So it's just, I mean, it's amazing to see a player like Maxwell excel at the highest level. But as I said, sad he couldn't finish it off for Australia, but in the end, they won the series 2-1. We've got to leave it at that. Lina Moin Aziz, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you about cricket and other things, of course. Ali Abbas, thank you for coming to the studio. Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for. Keep watching Sports Extra on PTV World. See you next time. Bye-bye.